So there's been a report of been reports about an hour ago. North Korea test fired another missile. The latest information I had as of a couple minutes ago coming on air is that they're still assessing what kind of missile it was. So let me just show you real quick, get you some information here. Anna Fifield tweets out, North Korea fires a missile, another step toward putting U.S. within reach, but not yet clear yet if this is an ICBM. So the last launch they did, the one a couple weeks ago, that was incredibly significant because it was an ICBM. It was an intercontinental ballistic missile. It was one that at least could have reached some parts of the United States, Alaska, and maybe some parts of the Pacific Northwest United States, but it was not capable yet of reaching the entire continental U.S. Now, this could be another ICBM test, or it could be just a test where they do a shorter range missile, but they could also be testing other technology. So they don't have they have not figured out how to miniaturize a nuclear warhead and put it on top of an ICBM, and also make that warhead such that it can be, when the ICBM goes out of the atmosphere and then comes back in, puts a lot of stress on the warhead, and they haven't figured out how to make the warhead survive the reentry yet. So there's all kinds of testing they could be doing that could besides testing an ICBM that would help them eventually with their goal, toward their goal of having a missile that can reach all of the United States, a nuclear tip missile. But also, they could be doing other missile tests to they might want to improve their shorter range missile technology. So, and maybe so there's lots of different things they could be doing. It's just not clear yet what this is and what this test was all about. The authorities in different countries are looking at it, trying to figure out. We'll keep you updated. By the way, if you have any comments on this story, write to me at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. I'd love to hear what you think about this and be happy to read your comment on the air. Let's see real quick if I can get you some more stuff. So this is quite significant here, I think. Let me show you this. Conflict News is reporting that the missile flew for about 45 minutes. 45 minutes, no immediate reports of damage. The Pentagon also confirmed, you can see up there, it detected the North Korean missile launch, and they're assessing their data. But if it flew for 45 minutes, it certainly was not a failed test. You remember there was a while when it seemed that a bunch of their tests were failing, and they'd blow up on the launcher, or they'd only go for a couple minutes or something. That hasn't happened lately, and 45 minutes is a long amount of time, so to me at least. So I wonder, I'm going to keep looking for more information, but that's a long time. Oh, this is very significant. It is believed to be an intercontinental ballistic. Here, hold on. Let me show you what I'm looking at. Hold on a second. News executive is reporting the missile flew for about 45 minutes. It is believed to be an ICBM test. That's very important. It's believed to be an intercontinental missile test. Now, a big question is, it's possible that this test today will be of a missile, and it will be an ICBM test, and it will show a longer range than the previous test. The previous test, experts got from that previous test that missile they were testing, that they had the capability of reaching not the whole United States, but Alaska, and also the Pacific coast of the United States. I believe Hawaii too, but also maybe Pacific Northwest of the United States, some of that area. But it's possible that this test today will have flown so long and at such a height that experts will say now they have a missile that can hit all the continental United States. I don't know, but it's possible. So very important, we have to keep an eye out for that. Let's get you more information here. Again, hello to everybody on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome, and thank you to the moderators in the chat room for moderating the chat. We'd love to get your feedback on this story. Give me a shout at Lookner, and I'll read your comment on the air, at Lookner on Twitter. I'm just making sure I've caught up on all your comments. Okay. Let's try to get you some more information here. Uh, B&O News. B&O News is reporting. North Korean missile appears to have fallen in Japan's exclusive economic zone. No reports of damage. So that's not Japan's territorial waters per se. Exclusive economic zones are, if I remember right, are waters that extend 200 miles outside a country. And in these exclusive economic zones, the country has like rights to stuff going on the surface, like fishing rights, those kind of things, but they don't have rights to underneath and airspace and stuff. So it's not their territorial waters, but roughly speaking, this suggests that it landed within 200 miles of Japan, which is a common landing place for a number of these launches before. And I have to think what we're gonna see here is, Japan is not that far away from North Korea. So here, I'll show you. I'll show you, everyone, so I can explain my point here. Oops. I'll show you once I can actually type. So here's a little map here. It's coming up on your screen in a second. So, hold on, I raised it up a little bit. So you might look at North Korea and Japan, you say, hey, North Korea and Japan are pretty close. North Korea and Japan are only about like a few hundred miles away. But how is it possible that this missile flew 45 minutes and only landed next to Japan or near Japan? And the reason is, when North Korea test fires missiles, they don't want to have them like fly off into some other country and land there and get in trouble for it. So what they do is, when they test long-range missiles, instead of flying them horizontally, they fly them on a very steep vertical trajectory. And so the missiles will fly for 20 or 30 minutes or whatever, almost straight up, and then they come almost straight down. So you get, in terms of distance, a long flight, but it doesn't actually go. If you do this, it's not going nearly as far lengthwise as if you do this, but it could fly the same distance. And that's why you'll see, when we get these reports in, like, the numbers seem absurd. It'll say it flew X number of miles in the air. The longer missile tests fly above even the height of the space station, International Space Station, but that's because they're shooting them basically straight up instead of across like they might normally do, because or at a lower angle, because they don't want the missiles to hit some other country. So that's what they have, a very steep trajectory. Okay, let's see if we can get any more updates here. Shay Cotton is reporting. Shay Cotton's reporting. They've never tested out of this area before, as my records indicate. Also, I believe this was an evening test. Let me confirm that for you. Korea time now is 1 in the morning. So this was an evening test around midnight or 11 p.m. That's unusual for them. So unusual launch time, unusual launch place for this test. This tweet from Gene Lee says, yes, late night missile launch from North Korea an hour ago, which is unusual for them. South Korea's president convening 1 a.m. emergency meeting. This is Right Side Broadcasting. We are covering North Korea's test firing of a missile about an hour ago. It is still being assessed what kind of missile it was. However, it did go for 45 minutes. I've heard some people reporting online, they think it's an ICBM. And then it becomes important: is this test? Have they developed technology that could make a missile hit the continental United States, which they had not had yet? If you'd like to reach out and send a comment in about this, would like to hear from you at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. Also, I should say, this is Right Side Broadcasting. We are viewer supported. So if you enjoy having coverage like this, that's not mainstream media coverage, and in a little more detail than the mainstream media when it comes sometimes they do missile launches and the mainstream media barely covers it, and we will go and we'll spend a little longer than they do, or we'll definitely look at more tweets than they do. I'll tell you that, and we definitely look at what a bunch more experts are tweeting on Twitter about this stuff. So if you enjoyed just having an alternative to the mainstream media, please consider donating, because we are viewer supported. We can't stay on the air without your support. So you are the reason we are able to do this. So if you'd like to make a donation, you can go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or you can go in the YouTube chat room and click on the $sign at the bottom of the chat room. Shay Cotton, by the way, I think he does weapon. He's a research associate for the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies. So he studies these kind of things. He writes, oops, here we go. So Steve Herman, we have some reports from people like Steve Herman that it fell in the Japan's exclusive economic zone. And then Shay Cotton is saying, if this is true, then this was a second ICBM flight test. So this would be their second ICBM they've ever test fired, if that's true. And this is a bit ominous here. Let me show you this tweet. Melissa Hanham is also a missile expert, and she says, sounds like they're trying to show us, it's a typo, sounds like they're trying to show us what the HS-14 can really do. The HS-14 is the missile they launched in that last test, their first ICBM test, and she thinks it might be another test of the HS-14. And I can't remember what the flight time was of the last test. I'd like to know that. I'm going to do a little search here. Flight time of North Korea ICBM test. July 4th. See if I can find that detail. Okay. Do I have it here? So 40 minutes. The last test was 40 minutes. So this might have gone longer, because the last test, so the previous test of the North Korea ICBM, the one on July 4th, their first ICBM test, it flew for about 40 minutes. But this one flew for 45. So it looks like it flew for a little longer. I'd like to get a confirmation. Of that fact, because that's important. If it goes from 40 to 45, maybe this one might go either longer. This one might have an even longer range. I'm going to tweet that out real quick. Excuse me for 1 second. Missile flew for 40 minutes. Let's see if we can get more information about this. They're still assessing what kind of weapon this was. Well, there's no confirmation it was an ICBM, but a lot of experts are suggesting it might be. Here's a tweet from Shay Cotton. He says, this is the 14th North Korea ballistic missile test of 2017. He also says, Shay Cotton, It looks like this test was successful. Kim Jong-un's overall missile flight test record is now 10-4 for the year and 63-17 overall. Bougro sent me a link from Sky News. Let's see what, maybe I'll see what they're saying real quick. Not necessarily broadcast it, but I'll see what they're saying. Yeah, so Sky News just has a news story up about it. You'll see it right there. Again, that's not Japanese territorial waters. Exclusive economic zone means like some waters within 200 miles of Japan. Thank you, Boog. Thanks, Boog, for sending me that other link too. Obedient Rome Cath sends in a message that says, as long as the U.S. Congress keeps provoking Russia, America will be chastised. Hold on one second. If you would like to write in your comment, give me a shout on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner, as we're getting in the information. It's still being assessed. Real big question right now is, it looks like this might have been an ICBM test. This would be their second one, North Korea. The really big question is this test, does this test show that North Korea now has the missile technology to hit the entire continental United States? That's a huge question, and I'm just waiting to hear, like you, about what the answer will be. Obedient Romcath also said, this is the result when U.S. Congress tyrannize the people of America and when they provoke their neighbors. Yeah, the missile did not hit Japan. It hit Japan, waters within 200 miles of Japan. That's what it means when it says it hits Japanese exclusive economic zone, lands in the water. And as we said before, we made these 2 points, but it's worth repeating. As news executive says. Hold on. 2 facts to observe. I'll make that a little bigger for you in a second. 2 facts to observe. Missile fired from Chang'an province, area not used previously for launches. Missile fired in evening hours. Both unusual. We are following this story still, and all this information is just coming in right now. So, Melissa Hanham, let me show you this. If you look it up at the top here, the top 2 tweets right there from Melissa Hanham. Let's see if I can get this on the screen. Yeah, so it's going to come up a little bigger now. So she says North Korea already launched this ICBM, an HS-14 ICBM on July 3rd, which demonstrated a capability to hit Alaska. I think it was July 4th, actually, their time. And she said, our measurements indicated they did not test the missile to full capacity. So what could be happening today is they could be testing the same model missile that they tested on July 4th, but they could be doing a test of greater capacity of that missile. And this test might show that that missile can fly even farther than they'd previously assessed it as. Thanks, Boog. I got your link. I will check it out a little bit. If you have any comments on this, do you have thoughts? Do you think if this test turns out to be a missile that can hit the continental United States, so not just Alaska, the continental United States, will that change things for President Trump? Remember, the U.S. intelligence reportedly, this came out about a week ago, changed their assessment of North Korea's timeline. They think within a year, North Korea will be able to miniaturize a nuclear warhead, put it on a missile, and have it reach all of the United States within a year. So time is ticking on this if the U.S. wants to prevent that. Only a year. So, if it turns out that they can hit the continental United States with a missile anywhere in the continental United States, is that going to change President Trump's thinking on this? What do you think? Give me a shout at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. Let me know what you think. And also, so hello to everybody on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, feel free to share this video. We love when you share the video, let other people know about Right Side Broadcasting. And on YouTube, like our video, because when you do that, YouTube tells other people about it. Also, follow us on Facebook, like and follow us on Facebook, and subscribe to us on YouTube if you want to get more updates about our videos and know when we're going on the air. When you subscribe to us, click the notifications bell on YouTube. Okay. Just checking here and trying to get more information updated. It's still coming in on this missile. Waiting to hear more about it. Also, a lot of times when the tests are successful, which it appears this might have been, we start seeing photos and video. We'll definitely see if it was a successful test, photos and video in the next couple days. But sometimes they happen pretty soon, so we'll keep an eye out and see if we see any photos of the test. I wonder. I kind of like when we do this coverage to see if the mainstream media is covering it. No, so the mainstream media, CNN's not covering it. Maybe they said something about it, but they're not covering it anymore. They probably covered it for 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. MSNBC is not covering it, still talking about healthcare bill. And Fox is not covering it. They're all talking about the healthcare bill. So we want to give you a place to actually see this. Look, this is really important, and it could be even more important if it turns out that this test is of a missile that can hit the continental United States, all of it. So we're here for you covering it. If you like that we're here for you covering it and nobody else is, feel free to consider making a donation, because your donations are what keep us on the air. We are viewer supported. So if you'd like to donate, go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or go to the YouTube chat room right next to the broadcast on YouTube. Go to the bottom of the chat room. There's a $sign there. You can click on the $sign. And thank you all for your past donations, which have allowed us to do this coverage. Even small donations are really helpful, by the way. See if we have any new information here. Nothing. I'm seeing the same kind of information come out, but nothing new yet. A lot of experts are working on this. So usually around this time, like an hour or two after the launch, is when experts start doing their calculations and posting them online. So I'm keeping an eye out on that for you. And as soon as I see any of them, I'll let you know. Little piece of information here. Sorry. The Japanese National Security Council meeting has concluded over the North Korea missile launch. And it's about 1 a.m. I think it's about 1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. in Korea, so it's close to then in Japan, whenever it is. Aaron Williams writes in, Democrats threaten Trump every day and nothing is done about it. Why expect the same with North Korea? That's from Aaron Williams. Here is a tweet from Melissa Hanham, who is a missile expert. She says, data on this launch is early, making it unreliable, but 45-minute flight time could mean they are demonstrating what the HS-14 can do. So she thinks what might be happening is that the ICBM model they tested in the July 4th test, they tested, but they didn't, fire it as long as they could. They might be doing that time, and if doing that this time. If that happens, we might have experts coming to us in the next few minutes saying we think this missile can now hit all of the United States. That very well we might get that kind of announcement. Now, I also wonder if that's the case. Would North Korea make some kind of big announcement? They did do a big announcement on July 4th where they did this televised thing and they said, hey, we've developed an ICBM. But they also claimed in that announcement they could hit anywhere in the world, which seemed to be an exaggeration a bit. But maybe there'll be another announcement from them today. Some video announcement. I don't know. We'll keep an eye out. Nathan Hunt repeats that point we heard earlier. New North Korea missile test reportedly came from Chang'an province and not North Pyongyang province, as earlier tests have been from. That's interesting, and I'm sure there's some reason for that. I just don't know what it is, so we'll see if experts have anything to say about that. Oh, we got a question from Samir from Hong Kong. Just wrote in that he emailed me a question. But Samir, if you're watching, could you send the question to steve.lookner@rsbn.tv? I haven't got it yet, Samir, your question that you emailed to rsbn.com. So did you send it to steve.lookner@rsbn.tv? That's where you need to send it. Or Samir from Pakistan, you can ask it in a tweet. Because I'm looking for it and I have not gotten it yet. If you'd like to write in a comment or a question, you can. You can message me on Twitter @Lookner or email me at steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. We just got a donation from Breaking Now. He says, you bunch of freeloaders, how was that coffee this morning? Did you enjoy your soda? What's the matter? A cat got your tongue? Why not drop your coffee for a day and donate $1? So that's Breaking Now. Breaking Now, first of all, thank you. You donated $50. That's very generous of you. Thank you, Breaking Now. So that's one. Second of all, so we know not everybody has the money to donate, and so we're okay with that. We don't blame you if you can't donate. But as one thing Breaking Now points out is that small donations are totally welcome. They really do add up, and we're viewer supported. So if you'd like to keep us on the air, as I said, I just checked the mainstream media networks, and no one is covering this right now. This is a very important story. For all you know, today's test shows that North Korea has just shown that they can hit all of the United States with a missile. But we're covering it live. We think it's really important. So if you like having this coverage and having this option for coverage, please consider donating. If you want to donate, go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or do what Breaking Now did and just go to the YouTube broadcast. There's a chat room next to the broadcast and click on the $sign at the bottom of the broadcast, of the chat room. At the bottom of the chat room, there's a $sign. You can click on that. Thank you, Breaking Now. Okay, this is a question from Samir from Hong Kong. He says, what does this North Korea missile launch tell us about the president's ability to influence China and North Korea? From Samir from Hong Kong. So, it's a good question. Like, you know, I'll say this. It certainly seems like China that China isn't at all restraining North Korea from proceeding with their missile program. They've already had 14 tests this calendar year. I think over the last 3 calendar years that they did a similar number over the whole year. So this is definitely a step up. They seem to be going at a very fast pace. So it seems like, at least, that they're not slowing them down. Now, maybe China's the reason they haven't done a new nuclear test yet. They haven't done that in a while. But in terms of President Trump's ability to the president's ability to influence China and North Korea, I guess what it seems like is going on is that his ability, at least so far, has been as little as previous presidents. The past few administrations, Clinton, Bush, Obama, they haven't really been able to stop North Korea either from developing their technology, their nuclear missile technology and nuclear technology. And also, they haven't really been able to get China to stop them. So it certainly suggests that not only in this administration, but the previous few administrations, it really just seems like it's going to be that working with China to get North Korea to stop, the evidence so far, and putting sanctions on them, the evidence so far suggests that sanctions and working with China is not going to work. Now, someone might say, well, could we ramp up the sanctions on China, like to a very high degree, where you start sanctioning big banks that have some connection with North Korea, that kind of thing, and taking the sanctions to a new level on China. That could happen, although you risk having like trade war and that kind of stuff. So that's possible. But yeah, it certainly seems like they're going there. They're going to this place where they can get an ICBM that can hit all the United States and can carry a nuclear weapon, nuclear warhead, and we can't do much to stop it, maybe short of military action. But again, there are actions like extreme sanctions kind of thing. But yeah, it seems like, at least at this point, President Trump has not had any more success than the previous few administrations at slowing the progress of the North Korean program. Let me check and see if we have any updates here. All right, I have a little number here, and I want to see what was. All right, let me show you first of all what I'm looking at. See, you can see. Jeffrey Lewis says, let's do a little work here. Jeffrey Lewis says a 45-minute flight time means we're looking at a 10,000 kilometer range missile, give or take. So that's what Jeffrey Lewis says. He's an arms expert, a missile expert. They have him sometimes on CNN as a commentator. He's actually very good. Now, what I need to do is, here's what I want to do. If Jeffrey Lewis is right, let's go with Jeffrey Lewis is right, and let's assume that, Jeffrey Lewis is right, and the distance that this missile range has is 10,000 kilometers. So let's say distance from North Korea to, let's say, New York. How long is that? Okay, this is quite interesting. The distance from North Korea to New York is 10,737 kilometers. I mean, give or take, because, I don't know where in North Korea it's doing it from. But if it's true that this distance is 10,000 kilometers, that would mean it could hit most of the continental United States. Again, if Jeffrey Lewis is right, Jeffrey Lewis says, 10,000. This is a weapons expert, that we're looking at a 10,000 km range missile, give or take. That would mean that it could hit most of the U.S. because the distance between North Korea and New York, which you can see here, is 10,700 whatever kilometers. I'm going to actually just tweet this real quick. So, as I said before, if true, this would allow missile to hit most of continental U.S. So we'll see what else he has to say. See if there are any other updates here. And I know some of you sent me messages. I want to get to your messages right now. If you'd like to message me, write to me at @Lookner on Twitter, @LOOKNER. Cecil Choate writes in, Pentagon confirms North Korea has launched another ballistic missile, this one landing close to our ally Japan. How will U.S. respond? Well, the big question is, will the response differ at all than the previous responses? I wonder, I've been wondering the last couple of months, is the trigger, is what the U.S. waiting for some new nuclear test? They've been testing missiles, but they haven't done a nuclear weapons test in a while. And will that kind of test, is that what maybe the U.S. is waiting for? Has the U.S. maybe communicated through back channels like, we have a bit of a red line if you do a nuclear test? I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there because they haven't done one of those in a while. There was speculation about a month ago they were going to do one. There were a lot of preparations at their nuclear test site, but it never actually happened. So will they, is that something that the U.S. is waiting for? Sharon writes, that's not good, in response to this news. Oh, specifically in response to that the missile could hit. So we saw a report from expert Jeffrey Lewis that it seems like this missile might have a 10,000 kilometer range, which if true would allow the missile to hit most of the continental U.S., and Sharon says that's not good. World War III writes in, North Korea missile takes 45 minutes, so it's going to nuke half of the United States. Xavier the Mindful says, we shouldn't worry about an ICBM. The time North Korea launched one at us, we would scramble our jets to shoot it down. So I don't think we have the jet technology to shoot it down from jets. We do have anti-missile technology, but from what I've read, our anti-missile technology is quite unreliable, and there's certainly no guarantee it would be able to shoot down a missile. It would not be a, 100% or 99% that missile could be shot down. World War III also writes, who started this war? So a couple more tweets from that expert Jeffrey Lewis, who tweeted that he thought the range might be about 10,000 kilometers of this missile, which would make it be able to hit a lot of the United States. He says, he gave a little update. He says, 10,000 kilometer is consistent with our models. In retrospect, I feel good about this, about this estimate. And he also says, hold on, I'll pull this up for you. He says, we shouldn't be surprised. The North Koreans made it very clear that this was not a missile aimed at Alaska and Sarah Palin's house. I'm a little confused about this tweet. So this I'm not really following here. But he seems confident in his assessment that the range is around 10,000 kilometers. We will keep an eye on that. Don Rondell says, with the lies in the mainstream media and Obama holdovers, I wonder if North Korea is trying to launch a satellite or weapon or looking for another Clinton-like payoff. So you never know, Don Rondell. We, under the Clinton administration, we reached an agreement with North Korea where we, I forget the specific terms, but we gave them a lot in exchange for them not continuing work on their nuclear weapons program, but they ended up cheating on the agreement, but now some people have speculated, well, they're doing all these tests just because ultimately they want an agreement where they get payment, food, supplies, money, whatever. But the problem is with that is that they seem to just keep doing these tests and don't really show a willingness to stop and talk, and really are going very fast with these tests. So some people, a lot of people think that they're just looking to develop a nuclear missile that can hit the United States for survival, because once they do that, then it won't be like Libya, where Gaddafi renounced his nuclear weapons, and then some people say that left Gaddafi open to being overthrown. Remember, we joined a coalition against Gaddafi at the end there, but before Gaddafi was overthrown there. So some people say, hey, if he still had his nuclear weapons, that wouldn't have happened. Some people have said the same thing about Ukraine. They say Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons to Russia, and if they hadn't, then Russia wouldn't have come over and taken over Crimea. So perhaps North Korea is looking to just develop nuclear weapons for survival. That is a lot of people think that's the case. We have some breaking news here. Also, I want to say to you, for those of you who know, we do cover President Trump's rallies. And President Trump will be doing a rally in West Virginia on Thursday, August 3rd. Wow, that is next week. So we'll be covering that. We'll have more on that later. So just those of you who watch our rally coverage, he's going to be doing a rally on West Virginia August 3rd, and that is next Thursday. So I get to get packing soon. I'll be traveling again. Okay, so that Joe just texted me that. All right, so we'll keep covering this, and we will certainly let you know more about the details of the rally in West Virginia. See if we can get more information about this missile here. Steve Herman says, if it's a Hwasong 14, as Melissa Hanham and others speculate, suspected range is up to 10,000 kilometers. And that would be able to hit most of the continental United States. This is from Breaking 911. This is a little. They say North Korea missile flight distance could have been more than 3,000 kilometers. It's a little confusing though, because that doesn't tell you the range of the missile. The experts will take the they'll look at the parabola that the missile went on, and they'll look at the flight path, and they'll figure out from that what it says about the range of the missile. Okay, let's go back to me here. Still waiting for some more updates from experts on this missile. The big question is, what does this missile test show about the range of their missiles now? Roxanne Harrington writes in, Steve, I want to thank you guys for being my news media outlet. I've pretty much gave up on mainstream media besides a few people on Fox who I still enjoy. I appreciate you and Right Side Broadcasting. With that said, thank you, by the way, Roxanne. With that said, all of this North Korea stuff is scary, but I'm going to enjoy life anyway. Thank you again for keeping us informed. Thank you, Roxanne. If you would like to write in on the story, if you have a comment or a question, write to me on Twitter, @Lookner on Twitter. Sharon says, Steve, would they try to send bomb to Israel, same range? I don't know, it's like, who knows if they would ever actually fire one of these missiles at anyone. It's more of a threat for them to have, but you never know with Kim Jong-Un. There is speculation he is unstable. I mean, he's done things like send people to Malaysia to kill his half-brother with by putting gas over his face. Having a couple women put gas over his face at an airport. So you never know what he might do. I'm looking up the distance from North Korea to Israel. The distance from North Korea to Israel is only 8,000 kilometers. So this certainly would be a missile like this. If the range is 10,000 kilometers, that would put Israel in range. But, I haven't heard him threatening Israel lately. Blake Shelton, 1993, says, speaking of Gaddafi, he was barbarically killed in my book without getting graphic. Thank you again to the moderators for moderating the chat room today. We appreciate it. Hello to everybody watching on Facebook and YouTube. Feel free to Share this video on Facebook and like it on YouTube. That both of those things spread the word about Right Side to other people who don't know about us. Also, feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell. Like and follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at RSB Network, and you can follow me on Twitter at Lookner. I cover a lot of breaking news stuff on my Twitter account. Also, write to me with any comments you have about the North Korea missile test. I will read them on the air at Lookner on Twitter. And if you enjoy our coverage, we are viewer supported, so we would love if you made a donation, even a small one, by going to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or clicking on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat. So a couple little things here that are in. So this 3,000 kilometer number, by the way, looks more like a height number. So Ankit Panda says 3,000 kilometer plus apogee is likely. I think I'm pronouncing apogee right. I don't know if I've read the word. I don't know if I ever actually said the word in my life. Apogee, not apogee. Okay, so the apogee is the high point of I believe it's a parabola shape, the U shape that the missile flies on, and 3,000 kilometer height would be about 1,800 miles high. That might sound absolutely crazy to you, but they basically fire these missiles almost straight up in the air when they test them. So it is true. So the distance this way wouldn't be 3,000 kilometers, but this way up might be around 3,000 kilometers. Also, this post from Steve Herman, where he says, the unusual DPRK midnight missile tests comes a day after the 64th anniversary of the signing of the Korea armistice. Now, I did see speculation in the last few days that there might be some kind of missile test. North Korea sometimes likes to do their missile tests on like important days, like they did on July 4th. There was speculation they might do a test around now because it was the 64th anniversary of the signing of the Korea armistice, which stopped the fighting in the Korean War. It didn't technically end the war. Technically, the war is still going, but there was never like a peace treaty signed, but it ended the fighting. So maybe they launched it today to mark that occasion. Let's see. Jason Thornton just made a donation. He donated $2 and he says Moab suppository for Lil Kim. Thank you, Jason, for your donation. We really appreciate it. Boo Grow says, he sent me a Yahoo article. He said there was a safety warning issued of some sort. I'm looking at the article. Oops, sorry. The Coast Guard issued safety warnings, I guess, to vessels or something. Hold on, let me see this again. The problem is it's playing some music or something. Oh, there we go. The Japanese Coast Guard did issue safety warnings to aircrafts and ships, but that was from the missile. But the missile's already landed, so they should be fine. Thank you, Boog. Yes, Cecil, we just reported the story about the height of the missile, perhaps reaching the missile test. Perhaps it flew about 3,000 kilometers high. Again, which sounds crazy, but these tests, they do that kind of thing. We are still waiting to get more word about this missile test. We really want to know how long so experts will look at the data and they'll say, okay, this shows that they now have a missile that can fly X miles, X kilometers. Jeffrey Lewis, an expert we saw earlier, posted that he thought the number suggested this missile can now fly 10,000 kilometers, which would put most of the United States in range of the missile. Stephanie Messenger writes, do you know if there's going to be a televised White House briefing today? No televised briefing. They're doing off-camera gaggle today. No televised briefing. Xavier Xavier the Mindful says, I just found out the only way to shoot down an ICBM with a fighter jet is during the ICBM's boost phase. That's interesting, Xavier the Mindful. I don't know enough about that to confirm that, but you're saying maybe when it's first firing the missile, they could shoot it down with a fighter jet. I'm not sure about this. Red River Report writes, these provocations give us the ground for action. We should EMP North Korea and nuke their artillery battles and end Kim's program now. Now, I'm guessing we wouldn't EMP or nuke them just because there is this, the last time a nuclear missile was fired was in Japan at the end of World War II, Nagasaki. So there is kind of this international restraint on ever using nuclear missiles or nuclear weapons at all at this point. Now, maybe somebody will one day. But, I do think that your general point is that you're calling for a military strike of some sort to take out North Korea's nuclear capability. And President Trump has said that's on the table. We don't know if it's going to happen. There are certainly potential costs to that, because for all you know, if that happens, North Korea fires all their artillery at South Korea and tens of thousands of people die, and then China might get involved and it's a whole big thing. You might see a larger conflict. You never know what's going to happen when you start taking military action. So, but a number of people have said that they thought they would prefer military action to just letting them get a nuclear missile that can hit all of the United States. So thank you for writing in your view, Red River Report. Still trying to get more information here. If you would like to write in, you can reach me at Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER. I'd love to hear your comments on this or your questions if you have them. So it's interesting because the test happened a couple hours ago and it might feel like it's old news, but actually, really the most important part of the news is yet to come because we're waiting on the experts to do some analysis and say, hey, this is how far this missile can actually fly. That's such an important question. That should be any time now. I'm expecting to hear information about that. We've had no statement from the White House yet or the Department of Defense on this. So we'll be keeping an eye out to see if we have a statement from them, either of them, on this. Usually they do release a statement around now about the North Korean missile test. We might see a statement from Secretary of State Tillerson as well. Just trying to get updates here. Still looking. I am waiting along with you. While I'm waiting, I'll also mention if you have any interest in like a Right Side mug like this or other free stuff from Right Side Broadcasting, we give free stuff away in exchange for monthly donations at our Patreon sites. You can check out our Patreon site at www.patreon.com/rsbn. That's www.patreon.com/rsbn. And again, if you just tuned in, if you're a regular Right Side viewer, you know we cover President Trump's rallies. We do all-day coverage. It was just announced that he will be having a rally next Thursday in West Virginia. So I need to, after this, go make my travel plans. But we're looking forward to bringing you coverage of that. And I will say one interesting thing about that is that that's 2 rallies in a week, which I, as president, I don't believe he's ever had 2 rallies so close. So perhaps he's going to do more rallies now. Look, we will see. But for the moment, our focus is on North Korea and this missile test and trying to get information about how far this missile tested today, how far could it really go? What does this show about North Korea's missile program? Xavier the Mindful says the best way to use a strike on North Korea if we get attacked first or one of our many allies. Well, that would certainly be more justifiable, I guess, to a lot of the world if we attack them after being attacked ourselves. The problem is, if North Korea never attacks us, do we keep letting them develop their nuclear missile technology? That's the question. And so we very well, if we want to strike them militarily to slow their program, their nuclear missile program, we very well might have to do it without any kind of provocation militarily from them. Again, we're just waiting to get more news as the experts work to figure out what the numbers from this test mean. But we're going to stick with you while we do that. Write to me on Twitter. Let me know what you're thinking about this. What do you think? Do you think the United States should take military action against North Korea at this point, given that the experts say within a year, North Korea will have a nuclear missile that can hit the United States? And be able to put a nuclear warhead on top of it. What do you think we should take military action, or do you think military action is too dangerous to do? What do you think? Write to me at Lookner on Twitter and let me know. Here's a little update here, which I'll show you. Japanese Prime Minister Abe, after a National Security Council meeting in Japan, condemns North Korea missile launch, vows to work with international community, in parentheses, again. This is, I have to say, usually at this point, the experts, not like the government experts, but the non-governmental experts, have an opinion about how, the numbers and how far the missile can actually go. But we haven't gotten that yet, so we'll keep an eye out. BNO News, if you look at that third tweet down, they just said something we'd said before on this broadcast. The missile was launched from a site not hold on, I'll make it a little bigger here. The North Korea's missile was launched from a site not previously used and happened at an unusual time of day. I saw someone post earlier, they said, I wonder if they launched it from a different site to make it harder for us to track the missile by satellite or something. I don't know if that actually makes a difference. I assume we can track them from wherever they're launching them from. Okay, here is a tweet which I'm going to send out to you, which is important. Further preliminary indications from Japan that this North Korea missile flew longer than any previous one, reaching 3,000 kilometer altitude, 1,800 miles high. That's not a misprint, 1,800 miles high about. And you can see there's a little map, which I believe this map is of the north. It's actually a nice map. This is a map of where the missile was launched and it landed. So it launched in North Korea, where the yellow dot is, and it landed in the waters. The extent is called is it extended economic zone, exclusive economic zone? I think exclusive economic zone, which is the waters 200 miles away from Japan. And you can see at the end of the arrow is where it landed. But the thing is, it actually can fly a lot farther than that, because when they shoot it almost straight up in the air, and it goes like 1,800 miles in the air. And then it comes down, just because they don't want to hit other countries farther away from them when they do the missile test. So that's a new piece of news. Miss Mortazavi says, time to hit them with a preemptive EMP strike and invade them. Give Kim a fair trial after capturing him in theater. Mad world. So Mrs. Mrs. Mortazavi is another supporter of military action against North Korea. Okay, this is quite important. This is a nice post here from Shea Cotton, which I want to show you. Here we go. Check this out. We've been hearing some people reporting that this missile that was tested went about 3,000 kilometers high, went 3,000 kilometers up. The previous ICBM test, the one in July, had a high point and apogee of 2,800 kilometers. So this test looks like it's going to be a missile the test looks like it's going to be one which shows the missile can go farther than the previous test showed, which is quite important. Because the missile in the previous test was assessed to be able to hit Alaska, but it looks like this missile tested today very well might be able to hit much of the continental United States. If you have a comment on this, write to me at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. Would love to read your comment on the air. Xavier the Mindful says, I worry about Hawaii. They are closest to North Korea, 7,500 kilometers. I also worry about Cali, too, about 9,000 kilometers. But it's possible that this missile tested today has a range of maybe about 10,000 kilometers. Isn't California closer? Yeah, the distance between California and North Korea is only it's 5,600 miles. So that's 9,000 kilometers. Anyways, looks like they could be very well in range of this missile. I wonder what the distance is, the range is between North Korea and like Kansas. Yeah, it's about 10,000 kilometers. So it looks like, earlier I looked at the numbers, and I guess the distance between North Korea and New York is 10,700 kilometers. And so I figured, well, that means that if it can fly 10,000 kilometers, it can hit most of the United States. Now, maybe really the case is that it can hit half of the United States or something. Anyways, because the distance, it's a whole thing getting into. Anyways, I don't want, it'll just bore you if I talk about all the technicalities here. But my point is that at least Kansas, which is in the middle of the country, would be reachable by a 10,000 kilometer range missile from North Korea. So, at least like around half the country would be reachable. But I might have been wrong by saying most. Maybe it's more half or something. I'm not sure. But anyways. Oh, well, actually, somebody just confirmed what I just said. Here, let me show you. Or what I said before. Okay, I feel better now. Jonathan Chang from the Wall Street Journal says, good time to roll out this graphic. If this missile can fly 10,000 kilometers, it'd put most of the U.S. homeland in range. I see what's happening here. So when they do the distance, I was using like Google Maps, but the idea, I guess, is the missile would be launched from North Korea. You can see the graphic. The missile would be launched from, say, Pyongyang, North Korea, or somewhere near there. And they fly it like over the pole, maybe. They can fly it over the pole. So if you look at or well, actually not over the pole. I'm sorry. They fly it. Oh, they could fly it over the pole according to this graphic. Whatever. They can fly it in any direction. Okay, because it just goes out. It goes out of the atmosphere and comes back in. So if you look at the graphic, you can see Alaska. You can see San Francisco's in range. You can see Washington D.C. is almost in range on the right there of the graphic. So let me see if I actually open this up. What happens? Can I get a bigger graphic? I'd love to show that. That's the same graphic. It doesn't help me at all. So that's an important tweet. And this range of this missile might have been around 10,000 kilometers today. We'll wait and see. Okay, some more numbers for you I want to get to. So this tweet, which I'll show you, is from Joshua Pollack. The Dennis Powell posted an update that says U.S. official says initial assessment is that North Korea fired an ICBM, intercontinental ICBM, that traveled 620 miles horizontally into the Sea of Japan. So it went up really high and it came down near Japan. And Joshua Pollack says, well, if it went 620 miles lengthwise, then that would have landed pretty close to Japan this time, if it went 620 miles lengthwise. And I also think this is important. Initial assessment from U.S. official that test was of ICBM. That's the importance of that one. We have a U.S. official, according to Dennis Powell, saying that this was an ICBM test. Just looking again, I thought there were some more numbers posted here. Okay, I think I've caught up on all the numbers coming out. Let me know your thoughts if you have them, comments or questions on this missile test. @Lookner on Twitter, @Lookner on Twitter. And we are really, as I've been saying the last few minutes, we're really waiting for the big information, which is when the experts, the official experts, and the non-governmental experts who are working on this right now, they are trying to figure out what is the range of the missile that was tested today. And as we saw before in that graphic here, hold on, let me get this up on the air for you. If the range is 10,000 kilometers, we've had some early speculation that the range of this missile tested today was 10,000 kilometers. If it's 10,000 kilometers, it put most of the U.S. homeland in range of this North Korean missile. By the way, hello to everybody on Facebook and YouTube who's watching us right now. Feel free to share this video on Facebook and like it on YouTube. That helps spread the word about Right Side Broadcasting. Also, follow us on Twitter at RSB Network. You can follow me on Twitter at Lookner. And also subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell so you get informed about our upcoming videos, and like and follow us on Facebook as well. Red Dog writes in, don't rule out North Korea might have an EMP, which would mean less of a payload than a nuke. EMP could theoretically take out power grid, internet, etc. US would be a third world country. EMPs are very scary. It's a kind of electrical attack where it's caused by a nuclear explosion above the ground. So, for example, you'd launch a nuclear missile and have it explode before it got near the ground. And they're very scary. Basically, a good EMP attack could just critically damage much of the electrical infrastructure for months in the United States. There was an article I posted about a month ago, or a few weeks ago, from The Economist about this, which summarized what would happen in the case of an EMP attack. It's very scary. I don't know personally if North Korea at this point has the technology to do that, and also to be able, even if they had like the proper weapons to do it, they'd have the know-how to actually carry this out. But it is certainly a worry, and it's something the government is worried about, and it's a very scary situation, very scary scenario. Roxanne Harrington says, in terms of her thoughts on possible military action against North Korea, she says, that's a tough one. If we do make a move, we risk an all-out war, but if we don't do anything, we're like sitting ducks and war will still happen. I just pray for the Trump administration to consider our safety when deciding. I know realistically you can't save everyone. I pray for a positive solution for all. At the same time, I'm a realist and don't think that will happen. Thank you, Roxanne, for your message. This is Right Side Broadcasting, by the way. We've been on the air for a while covering this very important nuclear test story. Last time I checked, none of the mainstream media networks were still on covering it. We like being able to cover these important stories for you, give you an alternative to the mainstream media. If you like that, please consider making a donation, even a small donation, because your donations keep us on the air. We are viewer supported here. Your donations are what allow us to broadcast. So if you'd like to donate, you can go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or you can click on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat. Right next to the broadcast, there's a YouTube chat, and at the bottom of that chat, there's a $. You can click on that and donate. So we'd really appreciate donations, because we want to keep bringing this news to you, but we can only do it if we get donations. If the donations stop, we have to go out of business. We can't broadcast anymore. So you are what let us do this. We thank you so much for letting us do this for you and with you. So hope you consider making a donation. Okay, here are some numbers, and we've seen these numbers before. So we've reported all these numbers during the stream. 45-minute flight time, which would be longer than the 40-minute flight time of the previous test. 3,000 km apogee, which would be higher than around 2,800 from the last test, and 1,000 kilometers on the ground, which I believe would be longer than the last test. So these all look like numbers that are higher and longer than the previous ICBM test. Dejan, you sent me a tweet, which I cannot read. It's from the Wayne Dupree show, because for some reason, I have no idea why, Wayne. Well, months ago, Wayne Dupree blocked me from following him on Twitter, and the only contact that I ever had with him is interviewing him on Right Side Broadcasting. I had nothing but good interactions with him, so I never know why he blocked me. Maybe it was an accident. I don't know. I always had nice conversations with Wayne Dupree, so I can't read that tweet. Maybe take a screen capture of it, Dejan. That is really a true story. One day I went to look at Wayne's, somebody had sent me something from Wayne Dupree and I couldn't see it, and I saw I was blocked, and I was like, why is that? And I have, to this day, I have no idea why it is. The only interaction I had him was a couple times interviewing him on the air, and he was very nice, and it was wonderful interviewing him, and I told him that. Jerry OOG just gave $10, and thank you, Jerry OOG. That's very kind of you. And you made a few donations yesterday, Jerry. We really appreciate your generosity. Thank you so much for your support, Jerry OOG. Okay, let's see if we can get you some more numbers here about this, or more assessment of this missile test. So anytime now, we should start seeing reports, posts from experts saying, this is how far I think this missile can fly that was tested today. And we also, nothing yet from the White House or the State Department on this. Now, I know President Trump is flying to Long Island, last I saw, but doesn't mean they can't release a statement on it. See, I'm looking at a couple different sites here. See if I can find anything more. We need more information. And by the way, a little story I'm seeing, not little, but a story I've been seeing just reported recently is that the U.S. Treasury is imposing new ballistic missile-related sanctions on Iran after Iran launches satellite-carrying rocket into space. Blake Shelton, 1993, also tweeted me about that. All right, I'm going to stay on a little while longer because, again, it's like the really big question we've been wondering during all this coverage is how far, the missile tested today, how far can it fly? What does the data show? And we have not gotten a conclusive answer to that yet. So we're still on the air because I want a conclusive answer to that. I want at least an initial answer to it because it's quite important. This is really big news. Write to me if you have any thoughts about this missile test. If it turns out that this missile can actually hit most of the United States, the one tested today, does that change what do you think we should do about North Korea? Let me know. I'm at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. Norway, good to hear from you, Norway. This is from Norway. Norway says, the third of 6 North Korean nuclear tests was judged by media as a dud. Experts, however, say the seismic profile of that weapons test was what one would expect of a dedicated EMP charge. North Korea has 2 satellites in orbit. Whether these are equipped with dedicated EMP weapons is not known. It is a possibility. Congress has for years debated securing the American electrical grid. Nothing has been done. This is the most important issue for America. An EMP attack would destroy all electrical infrastructure. It would take months or more likely years before the unhardened grid could be repaired. Within the first 12 months after an EMP attack, 90% of the population will have died. You can't run industry, cool food, make medicines, pump fuel, or run cars without electricity. The people must demand that the president and Congress get the job done. Harden the electric grid now. Thank you, Norway for Trump. Always good to hear from you. Still trying to get you more information about this ICBM test. You know, it's this thing where I do think because there have been so many missile tests lately, they become kind of routine in a way, and people stop like freaking out over them in the media and stuff. But this really is a big moment here because Today's test very well might mark the first time that North Korea has a missile that can hit most of the continental United States. Such a huge moment. So, we haven't seen any comment on it from, I feel like the media from some of the earlier tests were covering it a lot more. And also, we might have had a White House statement, if it was 3 months ago and there was such a test. But that doesn't mean this test is less important. This is a very, very significant test today. It could be extremely significant. Blake Shelton, 1993, says North Korea is going to provoke us into a preemptive military strike, non-nuclear. Proud American says RSBN does what the mainstream media won't. They cover real news. Thank you to Stephen, Joe, and Jacob. You're welcome, Proud American. Thank you. Yeah, we do try to not spend 24 hours a day covering just Trump-Russia news and that kind of stuff. And Rhines versus Scaramucci soap opera style news. We try to actually cover other news as well, especially international news that the mainstream media doesn't cover much. So thank you. We try to bring you all the important news. Whoa, okay. This would be very significant. This would be quite significant. Let me show you this. Let me show you this. Ankit Panda says, launch from the Chang'an province, demonstrated. So I don't think that means it could. I don't know. When it says demonstrated 3700 apogee, does that mean the apogee was 3700? Because the apogee of the previous test was 2800 kilometers. So we heard the apogee might have been 3000 today. Does this mean that it went 3,700 kilometers high, or that it could go 3,700 kilometers high? If it's true that it went, that's very, very, very significant. That's why he put 3 exclamation points there. So I need to keep an eye on this and see if we can find more perspective on this. So we have this information coming in. We'll keep an eye out. Wow. And check out what Jeffrey Lewis says. This is arms expert Jeffrey Lewis says, I told you so. This is a hell of a missile. So the experts I'm seeing are saying this missile is really powerful, really long range. Someone else on Twitter just said, and remember, they're 2 for 2 with tests on this missile too. Let me follow for the moment. Let me show you this tweet here. Ankit Panda says, so far, everything read today's North Korea test lends credence to the notion that their ICBM can far outperform what it demonstrated on July 4th. Can far outperform what it demonstrated on July 4th. And the one on July 4th was capable of hitting Alaska. So this looks like a very significant test. I'm wondering, I feel like maybe later today, much later, the mainstream media will wake up and realize what a significant test this is. But they're not covering it all. I'm looking. They're not talking about it. Not on Fox. I don't think it's on CNN. During commercial now. Not on MSNBC. No, they're not going to cover it. Hugely significant story, but why cover it? Why cover it in mainstream media? Thanks, Bugro. the Pentagon has confirmed, Fox News is reporting that the Pentagon has confirmed North Korea's missile launch. So we're getting more numbers in. We're keeping our eye out on the experts and seeing what they say about this. But everything we're hearing makes this look like a really important test of a missile that has a very long range and that can maybe hit most, if not all, of the continental United States. Would love to hear any comments from you guys out there. If you have any comments, I'd be happy to read them on the air, or questions. If you have comments or questions, write to me at Lookner, at Lookner. Check out this from Ankit Panda. I was expecting 1,000-kilometer range at least and a 3,000-kilometer plus loft, but 3,700 kilometers still surprised me. That's quite a loft. Cecil Choate sent me a report from RT Sky Newsbreak that the Japanese Prime Minister says Japan, South Korea, China, Russia, and the U.S. must increase pressure on North Korea over their missile program. Thank you, Joe, for I didn't realize we were doing that. So a quick reminder, by the way, that we are also, President Trump is going to make remarks coming up at 1:40 p.m. So about a half hour from now, President Trump is going to give remarks on the gang MS-13, the international gang MS-13. We will be carrying President Trump's remarks in New York. It'll be on a different stream than this. So if you want to watch this, you can find that. Go to our right side broadcasting page on YouTube, and if you click on that page, you'll see we're actually gonna. You can find the event there, and the event will be starting in about 25 minutes or so. The president will be in New York talking about anti-gang efforts. But we will keep our coverage going right here. Let me show you this tweet from Shea Cotton, where he compares the two tests. So, Shea Cotton, this test is a whole lot bigger, says Shea Cotton. The July 4th test had a range of 933 kilometers. This one had a range of 1,000. The July apogee was 2,800. Wow. So it looks like the apogee of this was 3,700, which is a good 33% higher it flew than the test on July 4th, and the flight time is longer too. It's a whole lot bigger test. So I'm going to retweet that first of all, which I just did. I also want to say something. Hold on, folks. I also want to say, I'm going to tweet this out. I'll let you see my tweet as a saying. Looks more and more like North Korea now has a missile that can hit more like this test shows. North Korea now has a missile that can hit most, if not all, of U.S. That's very significant. Wow. It's a really big deal. Very big deal. Don't be fooled by the fact that the mainstream media isn't talking about this, because this is a huge story. Just like the ICBM test was, the one they did on July 4th where they had an ICBM. They tested. July 4th was the first time they tested an ICBM. Today's only the second. July 4th showed they could hit Alaska. Today it looks like they're showing they could hit most, if not all, of the United States. I wonder if the president will mention that in his remarks today. David Kidd says, we could have launched the system that is in South Korea when they launched the missile. So, you're right, David Kidd, that we haven't reportedly used our anti-missile. Some people speculated that we might try to knock their missile tests out of the air when they're just in the early stages of flight. And I guess we have the capability to do that, but at least to try to do that. But the thing is that I guess that's seen as a provocative act by the United States, and they've restrained themselves from doing that. Maybe that's the reason they've restrained themselves. Or there could be other reasons, but that's one reason, and we have not done it yet. Although, I don't know, it's like, if it's on a mobile launcher and we don't have advanced word of the test, I don't know if that makes a difference. Also, I certainly don't think it's guaranteed that we could shoot it down. We could try. What is this? Somebody sent me a tweet here. I saw your report from Reuters. I just don't know if that's about North Korea at all. That's from AM. But again, I don't know if that's about North Korea. So we are following this story, this really big story that North Korea might very well have demonstrated today that they can hit the United States, most of the United States, with a missile. Now, they haven't miniaturized the nuclear warhead yet to put it on top of the missile and made it be able to withstand reentry, as far as we know. But maybe they have. We don't know this for sure. They haven't demonstrated it. Stephanie Messenger says, is the U.S. carrier group still off the coast of North Korea? I don't know, Stephanie. Good question. John S. Fogarty says, what if we were to take out North Korea's satellites? Do we or have we ever had the ability to do that? Has that ever been done before? I don't believe it's been done before, that one country has taken out another country's satellites. I'm guessing, I'm a total amateur at this, that's something we look into and perhaps do have the technology to do, but I'm not sure. But it certainly seems like it's something we might be willing to do. Although it also seems like something that's a huge step, and there are reasons you wouldn't want to do it. You might want to do it because you don't want to show off your technology to other people. You definitely might not want to do it because you don't want to set a precedent. Like, because if you do it, that tells other countries it's cool for them to do it. And, like with nuclear weapons, there might be kind of like just an unwritten agreement that we don't use these things, and people don't want to cross that and be the first one to use it. So there's different reasons we might not want to do that, John, even if we have the technology. Megan M writes in, the majority of the mainstream, this, I had posted the tweet about that North Korea might now have a missile that can hit most of the United States. And Megan M says, and the majority of the mainstream media cares more about a profane rant from Mooch. That's from Megan M. Here is a tweet from Anna Fifield, which I want to show you. Oops, I thought I was showing it to you and I'm not. It'll come up in a second, hold on. The North Korean missile flew up to a height of 37 kilometers. That would put Denver, maybe Chicago, in range if it was fired on a normal trajectory. And I've heard it might even be able to go farther than that, so. I'm not gonna retweet this because I think she might be using like Google Maps, but the thing is, Google Maps I think calculates the distance like when you fly like it doesn't calculate the distance of like how long it would take if you like went over the North Pole or something, or went over close to the pole. So I think the range might be longer than she's even saying in terms of the cities she could hit. Cities it could hit. Now, Deplorable wrote back to me. I had posted the numbers from Ankit Panda, who's a missile expert, about this flight time. And I said, looks more and more like this test shows North Korea now has a missile that can hit most, if not all of U.S., which a bunch of experts have been saying today. And Deplorable writes back, you want donations and followers for spreading fake news propaganda? Did you hear that from CNN? I just followed you yesterday, but I can't. So, no, we did not hear this from CNN. Those numbers that I've been talking about are not affiliated with the mainstream media. They are all different experts, weapons experts who follow this stuff, and they are all posting these estimates about the North Korean missile range. So that's who I am using for this. I don't even have my TV on right now. David Kidd writes, if we used the Anaconda plan and cut off their ports, we wouldn't have this problem so often. What do you think the Anaconda plan was? I'm not familiar with the Anaconda plan, David Kidd. But you seem to be saying we should like blockade them or something. I don't know if China would let us do that. Well, also, blockading them doesn't help cutting off their ports because they have a land border with China, and China could just deliver stuff to them over the land, over the land border. From the American Civil War, that's what he says. That's what the Anaconda plan is. Cecil Choate writes, North Korea missile test is a clear provocation of war. USA needs to intervene before millions of lives are lost. That's from Cecil Choate. Hey, Boogro, that wasn't real Donald Trump. That wasn't the actual Donald Trump. That was like a different account, like an impersonator account who made that reply that you were talking about. But thank you for sending me that link, Boog. Very quick update for those of you who are following the Baby Charlie Gard story. Baby Charlie Gard has passed away in England. Just a quick update on that. Right Side extends our condolences to the family, of course, of Charlie Gard and the friends of the family. Lily Hager writes, do you think other countries like Russia pay attention to the missile tests of North Korea? Oh, I think all the countries, all the big countries, the big industrialized nations, and many other nations pay a lot of attention to North Korean missile tests because what the status of North Korea affects the security of the world, and it's important to a lot of different countries. So, yeah, they all pay a lot of attention to it. Aaron Williams writes, Congress will not approve an all-out war against North Korea. They're trying to overthrow Trump. Expect no action to occur. Political hacks. Thanks, Aaron. Now, I think President Trump can probably take action on his own without congressional approval. He would be able to cite some kind. I'm guessing he could cite some kind of like, there was an urgent need. Well, I think the War Powers Act says that the president can take action as long as he reports on it to Congress, and as long as the action, well, that might involve troops. So, anyways, the long story short, without getting the technicalities of this, President Trump would be able to, as far as I'm aware, take military action, and it would not be a big constitutional crisis if he took military action. For example, President Trump, remember, he launched the missiles at Syria about the chemical weapons, and there was no congressional specific approval of that. So there would be justifications the president could give for launching military action without previous congressional approval. That's not to say he couldn't seek congressional approval. He could, but he could do it without it. Stephanie Messenger says, if Iran is secretly working with North Korea, they might have the capability of adding a nuclear weapon. Sure. You never know, Stephanie. That's a worry with letting North Korea get nuclear weapons and nuclear missile technology, is that they could export it to other countries. John S. Fogarty says, has anyone found any photos of this guy without a stupid smile on his face? Annabelle Onion says, can you give a quick recap of the North Korea missile test? Sure, it happened about a few hours ago. It happened at about late night North Korea time, and from an which they usually don't do, and from an area where they normally don't launch the missiles in North Korea, their tests. It flew about 3,700 kilometers in the air, believe it or not, which is 3,700 kilometers high is. Sorry. Flew about 2,300 miles high. I know that sounds crazy, but they launch the missiles more straight up, so they don't launch them like kind of horizontally because they don't want to like hit countries who they don't want to hit. So it was an ICBM. It looks like it was intercontinental ballistic missile. Their second such test ever. The first one was on July 4th. The missile landed. It flew for 47 minutes. I've heard 45 to 47 minutes. It landed near Japan, in the ocean, the Sea of Japan. And from what experts are saying, it looks like this is a missile. This test is a longer test of a similar missile that was tested a month ago, and that this missile would be able to hit most of the United States. And we're waiting to get some more facts and figures. And also, no official response yet from the Department of Defense or the White House about this. None. And not even a lot of media coverage of this for such an important story. It's such an important story. For all I know, we're the only people live covering this right now. If you like our coverage, please consider making a donation because you keep us on the air. We're viewer supported. We can't stay on the air without your support. So if you'd like to make a donation, go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or go to the YouTube chat next to the broadcast. You can click on the $sign at the bottom of the chat room. Also, if you have any comments, I'm happy to read them on the air. I'd like to know what you think about this whole situation. Write to me on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner. Feel free to follow me on Twitter as well. I tweet about breaking news stuff a lot. And if you want, you can follow Right Side Broadcasting as well at RSB Network. Gossamer writes, Steve, do the continued missile tests by North Korea exacerbate the apparent powerlessness of Trump or the USA? At what point will enough be enough? So, somebody might say, well, it shows the U.S. can't do anything about this, but, the U.S. could do something about it in terms of militarily. The problem is, are the consequences of military action too great? And maybe it does show that the U.S. can't get, like, China to pressure North Korea into not doing this. But, so it might show that, because they keep testing it, and it might show that sanctions aren't going to work from any country. Well, who knows? Maybe China could work. I don't know. But you might think it shows the U.S. can't stop this from happening unless they take military action, and then you got to ask, well, is the cost of any military action going to be too much? So these are important questions. Will Ripley, we're hearing a number of journalists say the same numbers now. But Will Ripley says, missile traveled 2,300 miles. People are getting the details wrong. No, it didn't travel 3,700 kilometers. The apogee was, I'm getting them off. Even the CNN journalist gets the numbers wrong. It flew up, the high point was 3,700 kilometers, the high point. And the distance traveled was lengthwise was around 600 some odd kilometers, and I don't know what the total distance is of the whole flight path. Roxanne Harrington says, they won't tell us anything until after they make their move. Trump said he'd stay quiet about military actions until it was done. That is correct. So you never know. If some military action is taken, we might not have much warning of it, Roxanne. Again, these numbers are misleading that you're seeing. And it's like, so AFP says, North Korea was ICBM, flew about 1,000 kilometers, Pentagon. Now, flew about, that's not the total distance it flew, it's the total length. It's the distance between the spot it launched on the Earth and the spot it landed on the Earth, but it flew a lot longer than that. Okay, I need to actually disappear for about 45 seconds. I'm going to come right back, so don't go away. The coverage will continue. I'm going to leave this on the screen, so I will be right back. 1 minute. Thank you for your patience. See if we have any updated info here. We have this tweet here from, hold on, let me show you. We have a Pentagon statement, which I will show you now and read to you. Latest Pentagon statement confirms North Korea launched ICBM. And let me show you the statement. Hold on. If I click on this, what happens? There we go. No, that's not good. I'll read you the statement here. I'm going to retweet this out. Hold on. The U.S. Department of Defense detected and tracked a single North Korea missile launch, say at about 10:41 a.m. Eastern Time. We assessed that this missile was an intercontinental ballistic missile, as had been expected. The missile was launched from Muepyeong-ni and traveled about 1,000 kilometers before splashing down in the Sea of Japan. We are working with our intra-agency partners on a more detailed assessment. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, determined the missile launch from North Korea did not pose a threat to North America. Our commitment to the defense of our allies, including the Republic of Korea and Japan, in the face of these threats remains ironclad. We remain prepared to defend ourselves and our allies from any attack or provocation. So there you have that statement from the Pentagon. Nothing from the White House yet. Still looking to get more information here. If you have any comments, write to me on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner. Happy to read your comments on the air. Another update, just so you know, we are covering President Trump's remarks about the war on gangs. I guess he's talking about the MS. He's talking about the MS-13 gang in New York today. So that's coming up very soon. You can go if you want to watch that. You can open up another window at Right Side Broadcasting on YouTube, and you can find the event there. And we're really just looking right now to try to get some. What we haven't seen, and we're waiting for this, is like experts saying this is the range of this missile that was tested today. We've heard some speculation, but we really are looking for numbers. Well, this is from, and you can see Will Ripley from CNN is reporting this, so I'll show you this tweet. So we're getting more reports like this. It looks like it's so let me show you. Will Ripley from CNN says, missile reached 2,300 mile altitude and flew approximately 45 minutes. Good portion of U.S. within striking range. Good portion of U.S. within striking range. Reliable ICBM by early next year. So there's a huge story. I bet the mainstream media isn't covering it much today because it's not a big sexy story like Anthony Scaramucci or Russia or whatever. But it's incredibly important that they've demonstrated this capability. Okay, we're going to stay on a few more minutes here, and then I am going to get off because I have some other work I need to do. But we'll stay on for a little while longer. And I mean, the other reason is that we're starting to get, at a certain point, we're getting now what we're going to get for now. So I'll keep an eye on stuff for the rest of the day and keep retweeting about it and stuff. But it looks like we're getting in a little. We at least have a general idea of how we're getting in the numbers about this missile. So at least we have the numbers. Let me show you this tweet here from Steve Herman. Latest North Korea missile launch was a more advanced ICBM than the one fired on July 4th, according to South Korean officials. Okay. Look at this. So look at what Melissa Hanham says. Check this out. See, this is why this is such a big story. We're on it. Mainstream media doesn't care. Oops, I think she might have deleted that tweet. Expert Melissa Hanham posted a tweet. Oh, let's see if it's here. Here it is. It's there. Check this out. She's a missile expert, and she says, this is even worse news if true. That would put New York City in range. There you go. So nothing from the White House yet about this. But we have at least one expert saying that this missile could hit New York City. John Fogerty said, how would you deal with North Korea if you had to propose an idea to the White House? I mean, the problem is like there's like no good solution. You know, personally, my thought is it really is you really don't want to let them get this technology. I do think you really have to consider the military option, because you don't want North Korea and that leader to have nuclear weapons and long-range missiles. You just don't want it. So much bad can happen. They can give them to other people. They can fire them. It's such an awful thing. And I've been saying this for years and years and years. So I do think military strike has to be considered, but it's certainly a last resort, because there's so much bad that can happen when you have a military strike. They could fire their weapons at South Korea. It could get all crazy. But I do think you have to consider it, because you just don't want countries like, to me, North Korea and Iran having nuclear weapons and nuclear missiles. It's not a good thing if they do this. And we are live now on our other stream that's showing President Trump's remarks about gangs today, about the fight against gangs. And so you can, if you want to watch that as well, you can open up another window on our YouTube page at Right Side Broadcasting. Darcy Hawker says, please reiterate that North Korea does not need to reach the USA to cause us damage. Very good point, Darcy. They just need to strike the financial district of Japan, and the world markets will collapse, escorting in the need for China's new system and a world economy based on digital means of buying and selling with a microchip. And something I'll add, Darcy, is we have tens of thousands of troops in South Korea. So we have troops on Guam too. We have a base on Guam. So they can hit us in other places too, if they want to cause damage to the United States. Interesting tweet from Anna Feifeld, which I'll show you. She says, Pentagon statement on North Korean ICBM launch. At what point do they drop their standard "did not pose a threat" line? So what she's saying is, in these statements, the Pentagon says, well, the missile did not pose a threat to North Korea, the missile launch. And what they mean is that this particular missile didn't pose a threat, did not pose a threat to North America. And what they mean is, well, this particular missile wasn't going to hit North America. But what she's saying is, but the test itself shows that they have missiles that can threaten North America. This is Right Side Broadcasting. We've been doing extended coverage of the very important North Korea missile test today, where they appear to have tested an ICBM. Well, it's been confirmed that they've tested an ICBM, but this ICBM very well might be able to reach most or all of the continental United States from the numbers we're seeing. So incredibly important test today, and we've been covering it. And if you enjoy our coverage, which I'm guessing is a lot more than the mainstream media, who basically has not been covering it all, hardly. Every time I turn it on, they're just not covering it. If you enjoy our coverage, please consider making a donation, because we cannot stay on the air without your donations. We need your donations to stay on the air. We are viewer supported. So if you'd like to donate, go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or go to the YouTube chat room and click on the $sign at the bottom of the chat room. Thank you again to the YouTube chat monitors today. Monitors. This is what happens when I stay on the air too long consecutively. YouTube chat moderators today. We appreciate it. And you can also write to me at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner, if you have comments, and I'm happy to read them on the air. Jason Clements says, the U.S. needs to stop focusing all their attention on Kim and start worrying about how he was able to get this tech so quickly, and being so effective at it only shows and proves Kim has had outside assistance at obtaining this technology, and the U.S. needs to focus on who gave him it. Thank you for that comment, Jason. Will we get any more information anytime soon? Will we get a comment from the White House anytime soon? We will see. You're welcome. John Fogarty says, thank you for your continued coverage with this situation. You're welcome, John. It's very important, which is why we're covering it. It's a really important story. So I don't care if the mainstream media isn't going to cover it. We're going to cover it here. And we've been covering it. I would just I would like, those are the two things I'm looking for, is a little more information from the experts about how far this missile, what the missile range is of the missile tested today, and also to see if there's a comment from the White House on this. Darcy Hawker says, they got the technology from China via Russia, via the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton. That's Darcy Hawker's opinion. Thanks, Darcy, for writing in. Stephanie Messenger says, at Lookner, interesting, the White House has been dark with this. I think it's quite interesting, Stephanie. We definitely saw earlier responses from the White House, for missile tests. Maybe because President Trump has an event right now where he's speaking, they wanted to wait until after that. I don't know, but it is interesting that we haven't gotten a response yet, because it's certainly an important occurrence. Maybe they're waiting for all of their calculations to be done to assess just what exactly the situation is with this missile test. And here's another tweet from an expert, which I will show you. Like I've been saying on this broadcast, now growing consensus that the new North Korea ICBM test shows range to hit the continental United States, potentially San Diego or New York City. There you go. And just so you know, Aaron Mehta is a Pentagon correspondent with Defense News. So he does report on this stuff for a living. Thank you, AM, for that tweet. We had reported on that before. Thank you. Darcy Hawker says, China basically runs the UN. 90% of peacekeepers are Chinese. Is that true, Darcy? I was not aware of that fact. So, but that's Darcy's a message from Darcy. Thank you for writing in. I'm not sure. By the way, when people write in comments, I can't verify their facts. I have not been aware. I know there have been peacekeeping missions where it was not 90% Chinese, but I don't have time to fact check everything here. So when we're on the air and I read your comments, and I leave it to you to fact check things that are said. But I want to be able to have an open forum where people can say what they want. So that's how we do it here. Jay Canuck says, sanctions on North Korea won't change a thing. That tactic has been used for decades. Now they are closer to striking U.S. and Canada than ever. Still looking for more updates here. Okay, I think at this point we're going to wrap up the stream because the news coming in is slowed a bit. I need to go do some other work stuff. And but more importantly, the news has slowed a bit. And I think we basically have the general idea of what's gone on today, which is that North Korea has made their second ICBM test. It appears to be an ICBM, a much bigger, a longer, farther test than the last one, a missile which a number of experts are saying can hit much of the continental United States, definitely parts of the continental United States. And I will keep posting on Twitter. If I have more updates about this that come in, I'll post them on my Twitter account. So follow me on Twitter if you want to keep up with the updates at Lookner, at Lookner. Also, subscribe to Right Side Broadcasting on YouTube for more live news videos like this. Subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell. Also, like and follow us on Facebook. And follow us on Twitter at RSB Network. And if you did Darcy Hawker says, LOL, you don't have to read everything out loud. I like reading your guys' comments out loud, Darcy. Now, if you want to message me and don't have me read something out loud, you can always say, don't have me read it out loud. You can always do that, and then I won't read it out loud, and I'll read your comment in my head. So thank you, everybody who wrote in with all your comments, by the way, and your questions. Much appreciated. So once again, we just covered this for a couple hours, at least 2 or 3 hours here. I forget, probably about 2.5 hours. Anyway, so mainstream media has hardly been covering this at all. So, and this story is so important. It's a perfect example of a story where it's so important and it's so newsworthy and has such great consequences for our country and for the world. And yet the mainstream media, to me, focus so much of their time. They spend 24 hours a day covering Trump stuff, and a lot of it's just like soap opera-y stuff like Scaramucci or will Sessions get fired, or they certainly spend like half the day, if not more, a lot of days on the Russia stuff. And as I've said frequently on the air, I think mainstream media, that their coverage does not reflect the importance of the different news events to the world. They focus on very narrow, certain stories that are kind of soap opera-y that they think will get ratings. But there's a lot of stories out there that are very important to the world that they hardly ever talk about. So this was a perfect example of that today, where it's such an important story. And I haven't even seen like tweets from correspondents at the mainstream media, most of them. I mean, Will Ripley from CNN tweeted, but he's the North Korea correspondent, and good for him for tweeting about it. So we think it's important to cover these stories for you guys, but we rely on you to stay on the air. We can't be on the air covering the stuff without your support. So if you did enjoy our coverage, please consider making a donation. Even small donations really help us. If you want to donate, you go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or you can go to the YouTube chat room next to one of our broadcasts and click on the $ at the bottom of the chat room and donate. But for now, I'm going to sign off here. Thank you for joining us for our coverage of this North Korea missile test. And if there's more news that comes out during the day, maybe there'll be a White House statement, some more facts and figures about this coming out, I will post it on my Twitter account at Lookner. Thank you again to the moderators for moderating the chat room for the entire broadcast. We really appreciate it. And hello to all of you in there. I know Guinevere and JC were in there. And I think JC was in there before. Yeah, JC messaged me before. He was there and Guinevere was there. And all of the regulars and non-regulars who were in the chat room, thank you for participating in the broadcast and participating in the chat. And we will see all you guys later. I believe right now, I haven't checked, but I believe let me tell you that right now. So President Trump is speaking. Is he live yet? Is he speaking yet, or are they still waiting for him? President Trump is about to speak on the fight against MS-13. You can go to Right Side Broadcasting on YouTube and watch it live there. That feed is live, so go check that out. So we're going to sign off here for now. Have a great day. And also, for those of you who didn't know, President Trump is having a rally August 3rd, next Thursday in West Virginia. I got to go make travel plans now. We look forward to covering that for you. So have a great day, rest of your day. And if there's more breaking news, we'll come on and cover it for you. But for now, this is Steve Lookner for Right Side Broadcasting saying goodbye for now. Have a good one.